I used to believe that love faded quietly, not with screaming fights or slammed doors, but with small absences that slowly hollowed out a marriage. Less eye contact, shorter conversations, the feeling of sleeping beside someone who was already far away. Aaron and I had been married for 12 years. To outsiders, we were stable, respectable, even enviable. A good home, successful careers, no public drama, but behind closed doors, something was breaking, and I was the only one listening to the sound. It started with his phone. Aaron never used to care where it was. It lay on tables, couches, even the bathroom sink. Then one day, it became an extension of his body, screen down, password changed, silent mode always on. If I reached for it, even casually, his hand moved faster than mine. "You don't trust me?" he asked once, offended. I smiled and said, "Of course I do. But trust isn't something you question unless it's already bleeding." Then came the late nights, meetings that couldn't be missed, clients that demanded dinners, calls he had to take outside. He stopped asking me how my day was, stopped noticing when I cut my hair or wore the dress he once loved. When I spoke, he nodded without listening, his mind elsewhere. Still, I told myself I was imagining things. Marriage goes through phases, I said. Love matures, I said. I swallowed the loneliness like medicine, hoping it would heal me. But loneliness doesn't heal, it warns. The night everything changed was painfully ordinary. Aaron was in the shower. Steam filled the bathroom, fogging the mirror we once shared laughter in. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. Once, twice, I didn't mean to look. I really didn't, but the screen lit up. "I miss you already. Last night wasn't enough." My breath caught. My fingers went cold. Before I could stop myself, I picked up the phone. There was a photo attached. A woman in a silk dress, red lips curved into a smile that wasn't shy at all. Confident, intimate, familiar. The kind of smile meant only for a lover. The room didn't spin. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I sat down slowly on the edge of the bed we shared for over a decade and felt something inside me go very still. So, this was the truth. Every late night, every distant glance, every lie wrapped in casual affection. I scrolled silently, messages filled with stolen moments, promises, jokes that were never meant for me. My heart didn't shatter loudly. It cracked, clean and quiet. When Aaron came out of the bathroom, towel around his waist, humming like a man without guilt, I locked his phone and placed it exactly where it had been. I smiled. "Long day tomorrow?" I asked. He nodded, kissed my forehead, and crawled into bed beside me like nothing had changed. I lay awake all night, staring at the ceiling, memorizing the shape of the betrayal. By morning, my tears were gone. In their place was clarity. I didn't confront him. I didn't beg. I began to prepare. Over the next days, I watched him with new eyes. The lies were suddenly obvious. The affection was mechanical. The man beside me was no longer my husband. He was evidence. I gathered documents, took photos, saved messages, opened a separate account, called a lawyer, and spoke calmly, like this was business, not the death of my marriage. Aaron still thought I was his wife, but in my heart I had already left, and he had no idea what was coming next. Knowing the truth changed the way I breathed. Every morning after that night felt staged, like I was acting in my own life. I smiled when Aaron spoke. I nodded when he lied. I kissed him goodbye and watched him leave, wondering which version of himself walked out the door, the husband I married or the man who no longer belonged to me. I didn't confront him, not because I was weak, but because I needed to be strong first. I needed to know who she was. Her name came easily. Aaron wasn't as careful as he believed. A single email address, a calendar invite disguised as a meeting. A restaurant receipt slipped into a jacket pocket. Piece by piece, she formed into a person. Lena, She worked in finance. Married, no children, elegant, according to her social media. The kind of woman who knew her angles and posted smiles that looked effortless and curated. She wore silk dresses and confidence like armor. In every photo, she looked like someone who had never waited for love. I studied her not with jealousy but with disbelief. She knew he was married, that much was clear from their messages. She joked about it. Does she suspect? She once asked, "You're still mine tonight." I closed the screen and pressed my hand against my chest, steadying my breath. So this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't confusion or loneliness. This was cruelty. What hurt most wasn't that she was beautiful. It was that she was deliberate. She smiled while stepping into my life and tearing it apart, thread by thread. I wondered if she ever thought about me, about the woman whose place she borrowed, about the home she entered only through secrets and shadows. Probably not. Mistresses rarely imagine wives as real people. The humiliation crept in slowly, at the grocery store. At work, at family dinners where Aaron laughed beside me, while his phone vibrated with another woman's words. I felt exposed, like everyone could see the truth written across my face, but no one did, and I learned something dangerous then. Betrayal is easiest when you do it quietly. One afternoon, I passed Lena on the street without knowing it was her. She was laughing into her phone, head tilted, hair catching the light. There was no shame in her posture, no guilt in her voice, just joy, stolen joy. Later that night, when I found the same coat and same laugh in a photo on Aaron's phone, something in me hardened permanently. I stopped crying after that. Instead, I started planning. I met with my lawyer again. We spoke about timelines, assets, evidence. I learned how to leave without losing myself, how to protect what was mine, how to be silent without being powerless. At home, Aaron grew careless. His lies became lazy, his patience thin. Sometimes he looked at me like I was already a stranger, already gone. He didn't know how right he was. One evening, while folding laundry, I noticed a cufflink I had given him years ago, a gift for our anniversary. He never wore it anymore. It sat forgotten at the bottom of a drawer, just like me. I picked it up, held it between my fingers, and felt something shift. This wasn't just about losing a husband. It was about reclaiming my dignity. I no longer imagined confronting her, or screaming at him, or demanding explanations. Those things belonged to a version of me that still hoped. Hope had left. What remained was resolve. I would leave on my terms. I would not beg for love that was given away so easily. And while Aaron thought he was living two lives, I was quietly preparing to end one and begin another. What I didn't know then was that Lena's world was already cracking too. And soon it would collide with mine in ways none of us could have predicted. The knock at my door came like a shadow in broad daylight, sudden, unexpected, impossible to ignore. I wasn't expecting anyone. Not friends, not family, certainly not him. A tall man stood there, neatly dressed, but with eyes that carried the weight of someone who had been broken. Not the kind of broken that shatters in public, but the kind that simmers quietly, leaving a permanent mark. "You're Aaron's wife," he said. His voice was calm, measured, but I could feel the undercurrent of pain. "Yes," I said cautiously. "And you are?" "I'm Lena's husband." My stomach dropped. Lena's husband? The woman who had been smiling at my husband behind my back, the woman I had been studying and quietly despising, she was married. And this man was standing in front of me, knowing everything. I blinked, searching his expression. He wasn't angry. He wasn't threatening. There was only grief and something else, determination. "I know about the affair," he said. "I know about the lies. I know about everything Aaron did and what Lena hid from both of us. I've traced it all." For a moment, I couldn't speak. Part of me wanted to recoil, to slam the door, to scream. Another part, a smaller, sharper part, recognized an opportunity. He continued, his voice softening, "I'm not here to confront you. I'm here to give you a choice, to give you leverage." Before I could ask what he meant, he reached into his briefcase and pulled out a folder, then a small USB drive. He slid them across the table toward me. "I've been managing my own finances carefully," he said. "But Aaron's misdeeds, both personal and professional, are documented, enough to ruin him, enough to protect you," and he hesitated, then handed me a check. I looked at it. My breath caught. $100 million you're giving me. I stammered, "Yes," he said. "Because the best revenge isn't public shaming. It's security, power, freedom, and because you didn't ask for this pain, you deserve to come out of it whole." I stared at him, unsure whether to laugh, cry, or drop to my knees. Instead, I sat in stunned silence. He continued quietly, "I don't want retaliation through violence. I want justice. I want Aaron exposed. I want Lena held accountable. And I want you to have a life where you never have to feel powerless again." It was the strangest thing. Here was a man I had never met, representing a woman I hated, giving me a fortune I couldn't even imagine, not out of obligation, not out of sympathy, but out of a shared understanding of betrayal. I don't even know what to say." I whispered. "You don't need to say anything," he replied. "Just know that this changes everything. You have the power now, and with it, you can finally step out of the shadow Aaron and Lena cast over your life." I felt something I hadn't in months, hope. Not the naive hope that kept me silent, that made me wait for love to return, but sharp, clean, decisive hope, the kind that whispered, "Now you can fight. Now you can win." We spent hours talking that evening. He told me what he knew, all of Lena's lies, Aaron's secret accounts, the manipulation that had gone on behind the scenes. He didn't need my approval, and I didn't offer it, but I understood then that we were allies, unlikely, yes, but powerful. By the time he left, the world felt different. The air in the apartment seemed lighter, somehow. I was no longer alone. And for the first time since the betrayal, I felt in control. Aaron would soon learn that betrayal has consequences. That the woman he thought was powerless was not only awake, she was unstoppable. And Lena, she would realize far too late that every smile she had given him came at her own expense. By the time the first papers for divorce were served, Aaron had no idea how carefully everything had been prepared. I moved quietly, like a storm gathering strength. The documents were ready, the evidence meticulously organized, messages, hotel receipts, bank transfers. Every lie, every betrayal, every stolen moment had been recorded. I had not rushed, I had waited, I had learned. The court proceedings were swift. My lawyer, patient and precise, guided me through every step, while I maintained a calm exterior that concealed a fire inside. Aaron appeared confused and nervous, as if he had expected me to plead, to beg, to crumble. I did none of those things. When the judge asked about financial disclosures, I presented everything. Aaron's secret accounts, the misuse of company funds to support the affair, every evidence of deception. Lena's complicity was also revealed through her digital footprint. Emails, receipts, even confessions from those who had witnessed the affair unfold behind closed doors. Aaron's face fell as the truth unfurled in the courtroom. His confident smirk was gone, replaced by disbelief, fear, and anger. For the first time, he realized he was powerless. "Your Honor," he began, voice shaking. "This isn't true, it is," I said, and for the first time, my voice didn't tremble. It was steady, clear, and unyielding, all of it, every word, every action. "I know everything." The judge nodded, taking note of the evidence. The ruling was decisive. Aaron was stripped of his financial privileges. Half of our assets, including the house and savings, were legally mine. His company faced scrutiny, his reputation ruined, and Lena's name was public record, marked by scandal. When the court session ended, I didn't wait to gloat. I didn't want revenge that would still weigh on me. I walked out quietly, my steps deliberate, my head held high. It was over. But the sweetest part was yet to come. Weeks later, I met with the man who had given me the $100 million. He smiled as we discussed the last details, the final settlements, the exposure that had forced Lena to resign from her job and apologize publicly, and Aaron to face the consequences of his choices. "You've done more than I imagined," he said softly. "You didn't just survive this, you thrived." I smiled back, but it wasn't the fleeting, uncertain smile of the woman who once loved blindly. It was a strong, peaceful smile, one that belonged to someone who had endured betrayal and emerged whole. The money he gave me became my armor and my freedom. I invested wisely, traveled freely, and rebuilt my life exactly as I wanted, not as a wife or a victim, but as myself. I bought a home where every corner reflected my strength, every window framed my independence. I even laughed again, without fear, without guilt, without hesitation. Aaron and Lena, they tried in small ways to reclaim dignity, but it was gone. People who had once admired them whispered, recoiled, and watched as their carefully curated lives crumbled. Karma, subtle yet undeniable, had done its work. I never sought revenge in anger or hate. I sought justice. And in the process, I found something more powerful than punishment, freedom. Months later, I ran into the man who had given me the chance to rise. We didn't speak of the past, only the peace we had both been given by the truth. No resentment lingered, no bitterness. Just clarity and closure. I had imagined an ending with tears, arguments, heartbreak, despair. Instead, I found power, dignity, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that I had turned betrayal into triumph. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't watching them suffer, it's watching yourself soar, and that is exactly what I did. I left the past behind, richer, stronger, and unstoppable. A woman who had been betrayed, but who would never be broken again.